So now we start our first discussion about the work we have done in this week. I look forward really to see completely your work. And according to the program, the first group is the team number 1. So I think Hope Strode. I give the floor to Hope Strode and to the organization. Thanks.
Yes, maybe just Sarah, maybe we can say that up to now we have in our internal panel of discussion. Okay, Andrea Oldani, Marco Mareggi, who are in our board of the workshop, so we don't need to introduce topics and so on. And then, as you see, have seen Dirk from his own car, and Juan Carlos, they are joining the discussion today. So I guess we can go to atelier number 1. So with Hope, Federico, and then the students who are talking.
Hello, everybody. So we want to start by sending everybody a link to, well, it's already in the chat, but I'll resend it here. A link to our Miro board, which is a virtual space where all the students have posted their work. So if because we're streaming videos, if for some reason there's a problem with hearing it on the streaming, you can go directly there and watch them. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. First, I want to introduce our tutors who are amazing, Erze, Susanna, and Alessandra. If you would turn on your microphones and say hello.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
And they've been an incredible help throughout the week.
Yes, they've been a great help. So our project is really looking closely at this question of time and how can you really combine time-based design and thinking in temporal ways with spatial design. And so we started off by basically combining the students in groups where each group had one student based in Piacenza and other students sort of all over. And they're working together, and we've asked the student who's based in Piacenza to really be the eyes on the ground. And so we're having them look at the site from 2 very distinct points, distinct but overlapping. One is the on the ground, the sensorial, the poetic, really the atmospheric, the physical. And so they've gone on site and they've used video to capture the environment and their experiences. And the second was done on the first day mostly by the groups who are away, which is sort of our more traditional approach where we dive in with maps and research and that kind of thing. And then they came together, shared the ideas, and created an initial video with sort of site impressions. From there, going forward, we assigned to each group a particular category. So we have one category from city to water. The next category is the buffer zone, so really between the flood control platform, the landform, and the water's edge. Under the bridge, so under the existing infrastructure, and on over under the water. Do you want to talk about?
Well, and then we defined these categories for each group. We gave a keyword, so we sort of gave them some themes in a way that they could work with, and so every team has dealt with these keywords in a different way. For example, we had continuity, corridor, contamination, these kinds of words that can relate to the work or not, or in different ways.
But these we brought in the middle of the week, so they were sort of an added input, which the students had to respond to. They also each received a duration, so thinking about a particular time where they had to design, so that the shortest is 14 days and the longest is 100 years. So each group is looking at those parameters in a different way and a different level of cost. So again, we have 5,000 euros to 500,000 euros as a budget. And so they're all sort of starting to think about their site and their project with these kind of various inputs. And the idea is to think about how you can activate this landscape of the waterfront on the Po before there really is a waterfront for Piacenza on the Po. So what can we do in this intermediate time to activate it?
Perhaps we start showing some.
So we want to start by showing some of the videos. So group one, are you here? Would you turn on your microphones and say hello?
Yes, Professor, we are here and
Right.
looking forward to take stage.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. We are here.
And can you give us your 30-second explanation and then we play your video?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. After visiting the site, we had some specific feelings about the site. And if we summarize them, there were three specific feelings. The unexpected gaps that invites you to view the river, very natural way to demonstrate the river, and the last one is very good harmony in the landscape between river and the green area. So we would like to use these three elements into our design. And since we had a really huge budget, we would like to design something big impact on the site as landmark. We will explain in detail after watching the video.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to stream the videos with sound, so if everyone can have their microphone off.
Okay. Can we talk about the design a bit? Is it
I'm
possible?
afraid we have to move to.
I think we have to move to the next group.
Okay. Okay.
We'll do comments all at the end for everybody.
Okay.
One question to everybody out there, were you able to see the video? Did it work?
For me,
Yeah.
it worked.
Yes, it's worked.
Okay,
Yes, we
great.
can.
Great.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
guys.
Group
Thank
number
you.
2, please.
Group number 2, you're on.
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning,
Morning.
Thomas here.
Give us your presentation, please.
And you have the third member.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you, Esther. Okay, may I start?
Yes.
Okay, so our topic at first is from the city to the water. Since the beginning, we focus on the sensations and on the movement that the site visit produced. Overall, we have called it a journey of sensations, which are reflected on the previous short clips and the ones that are played on this video. And our keyword afterwards was migration. So we solved the topic making a path with a green corridor chosen to lead birds from the city to the riverside, strengthening the idea of the movement I mentioned before. And then birds fly along the riverside to other cities. It focused, therefore, on attracting migratory species along the Po River by proposing a green sanctuary. In this way, the essence of time is also captured. And then the weather we have been given is a rainy day. So we consider about to keep the water by wetland near the river, so that make this riverside more resilient. And our material was trees, so we plant them near the river to protect them from erosion. And at the same time, planting them close to the channel, reducing bad smells. And we can play the video already.
Okay. Thank you, group 2. So group 3, are you ready? Are you here? Would you introduce yourself?
Hello, we are ready. I can easily introduce a little about our design. We have a very small budget and we have a 3D printer. It's very useful to produce some interesting instrument. And instead of define how the landscape, how the area will be look like in the future, we'd like to bring people to the saturate of the breeze, the concept of the forest song and the concerto under the river. So people can reach the river with another sensation. We want to attract people by natural music and create more layers of soundscape by these human activities, inspiring people to explore more opportunities for the river and the city. So I think everybody is ready to see the video.
Great. Thank you,
Thank
group
you.
3.
Group 4.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Would you give a quick introduction to your video?
Yes,
Or
of
your
course.
project, rather, not the video.
Yes, we are in the buffer zone. Our influencers were, we have a budget of 200,000 euros. Our keyword was corridor, which is going to be reflected in the video. I will go through the idea very quickly. So our idea is called Becoming Animal. It fathoms the relationship between man and nature in the contemporary landscape. The proposed environmental infrastructure, it aims at destabilizing a conventional anthropocentric perspective, where man is actually the center. And this is something we're changing in our idea. The visitor is immersed in a multifocal and multisensorial exploration that merges between the spheres of the human vegetation and the animals, inhabiting this very diverse ecosystem, which is the buffer zone, the banks of the river. We are encouraging ecological awareness within Piacenza riverfront, and we're capturing the long-lost beautiful nature and ecological diversity that are naturally found on the bank of the river Pro. We're proposing wooden walkways that vary in width that are used to improve the accessibility to the varying green spaces, with platforms providing different vistas over the Po River. Yet some pathways force visitors to walk individually to invite to a space for contemplation, where it contains the visitor intimately so that they can relate with nature like a temple. So the entire pathway, which takes us through the entire buffer zone, it's a privileged place to understand the totality of the natural world on the human scale. And maybe through the video, we can see it more.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Group number 5. Please.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So can we start?
Yes.
Okay. According to our research of our site before, we found some contrast in the atmosphere of the site. One of the causes is the influence of the surrounding function. On the other hand, there is a lack of a clear connection. So, because we have a low budget and our word keyword is contamination, so we decide to highlight existing trends to develop into a vertical path as a link. Then we chose our specific site as a node on the path to provide a public urban space for biker and others to carry out activities. Then we can watching our video. Thank you.
Thank you. Group number 6.
Hello, Professor. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Would you present?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were given the site area which was on the water with the keyword as stepping stone, and the approach to regain river power concentrating on the case of islands was with the idea of flooding as an essential dynamic of public realm by understanding the geomorphology and hydrology along with the parameters of influences for the site evolution of up to period of 100 years, along with the use of local materials, helped us to achieve our primary aim to convert this particular idea into a stepping stone to nurture a rich regional ecology with controlled flooding on varying landscapes, thereby helping people for having a new identity and also solving the problem of disconnection. I think we'll move on to the video right now to understand better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Group 6. So we'll go to the last one, Group 7.
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Can I start?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
Okay, the project shows a journey through the riverfront that reflects what happens when nature starts gaining its place back and growing again, integrating with the surrounding landscape. It shows how human and nature coexist in a cycle that keeps moving and evolving. The green man represents nature and man and how they cohabitate and relate through a series of points of interest that shows interventions that change in time to create awareness about the ecosystem and the effect of people in Earth. Okay.
Okay, I'll play.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Atelier 1, hope Federico, all the students. I guess the presentation through videos was very, clear, impacting and interesting, also oriented to understand the identities element of the area involved in our workshop you want to stress. I want to give our welcome to Professor Alessandro Massarente. Alessandro, ci senti?
Sì, grazie.
Ciao, buongiorno.
Salve a tutti.
Ciao Alessandro, sono Sara.
Ciao Sara. Good afternoon to you all.
Okay, he's a professor in Ferrara, and he's part of our scientific board. So it's a pleasure to have him for this midterm discussion. Alessandro, we have started with atelier number 1. So you know the general topic of our workshop. So to stress and to enhance a connection among cities, the city of Piacenza and the Po River. The workshop is divided, well, students, 70 students are now in the chat, are divided within the 3 ateliers. Each one is working with a very, specific and personal approach. And also the today presentation are representing and are testifying these different approaches. The first atelier was made by, is led by Hope Strode and Federico De Molfetta. You can see them. So we have seen their contribution through the different groups. So now I want to open the discussion for the other colleagues who were attended the presentation itself. Then Alessandro, if you have time, maybe we can also share with you later at the end of the presentation also atelier number 1. So I can ask Andrea Oldani and Marco Mareggi if you want to comment or to give question to the works of our friends.
Hi everyone. Do you listen me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say compliments to all the students because I feel that the presentation are really focusing some clue topics about the problems of the River Po and the connection with Piacenza, and a lot of interesting keywords about at the end the problem of designing river spaces. That is something that is collecting in the literature a lot of great examples and topics to discuss. I saw one presentation where there is something about the river morphology, and I would like to suggest you something about this topic and one keyword that in my opinion is a little missing, that is the keyword about history and especially about the palimpsest of this area. If you are going to the historical maps of Piacenza, you can easily understand how the space occupied by the river was very important in terms of the landscape, and how the river modified itself in a continuous process. This is visible along the River Po, especially if you are moving towards Cremona, where, for example, the agricultural pattern contains all the meandering of the river. But I found one map on the internet that you can easily access. It's inside of Google result if you write historical maps Piacenza in Italian. And in this map there is the superimposition between the historical river and the new one. I can show you if you like the map by the I can share my screen. Well, because it's quite interesting. Maybe you already have this map.
Please show us.
Yeah, I'm doing, but I don't know. It's very slow. Sorry. Do you see something now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this map, I don't know the year because I found it during the presentation in one very short time. I think it's incredible because it's showing exactly in front of Piacenza the migration of this huge system of islands. Now this complexity is completely gone. I think this is a good point for your investigation about wetlands and the character of wetlands, and also it's very important in relationship to the problem of time that your professor at the beginning mentioned as a clue topic in your work, because I think that in this kind of context, the time is strongly related to the problem of the dynamics of the river and the instability of the river. So when you are going to design these wetlands and so on, you should consider this kind of contraposition between the river that originally moved and continuously try to move, and your work, your design that is subject to the variability of the nature. And I think it's a very stimulating topic in order to understand what to do. So since in many presentations there is this topic that is always coming back, I think it's very interesting considering this kind of point. Another topic that I found very interesting is also related to the your exploration about the environment of the river and the images that you show, where the landscape is quite opaque, is quite affected by, I don't know, sort of abandonment. And I think all the traditional characters of the landscape around the River Po are lost because of many processes and very, how to say, the fact that no one is caring this landscape. So there are trees that are typically of the abandoned areas, invasive species, and all these kind of topics. So how can be improved, how can be transformed, is also another point that I think can help yourself in completing your process. That's it. I would like just to give this kind of aspects that I think can be interesting and something that I was reflecting starting from your proposals.
Okay, I thank Andrea. Now maybe Marco Mareggi can say something and can comment. I would like just to understand better the meaning and the role of this blackboard of Miro.com. I mean, Hope and Federico, is it a a site where you can everybody can enter and to see it? And do you intend it as a blackboard of work, I guess?
It's like a pinup board, a virtual pinup board, so everyone can enter it, add things, change things, and so we have.
Do you see it right now?
Over here, for example, we have some sample videos. You can see some of the students who are actually on the board and doing things right now. So everyone is sort of there, and when it's pinup time, you see all the mouses of all the different students pinning up their videos, and so it's just been a really nice way to share videos, to share work as we go along, progress work. If we find a good example that we want to show somebody or a link, we post it here.
Okay.
And it's very
And then we can share it with you also if the streaming's not working.
Marco Mareggi.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the presentation, the program presented by the professor, and the different video and tasks of the different students. I want to underline two elements that I think can be helpful for going on in the work. It's clear that it's the beginning of the work. The first one is you need to clarify in the work if the themes is a relationship between cities and riverside, or if we speak about the river and their environments. I think that what have you seen is more in relation with the second one. And if I thought in a very easy perspective in relation to the projects, the riverside is a park or quite similar things. I understand that is a simplification, but I think it's useful for the students to understand what is the lines, the direction, the perspective of working. Can be the second one, but I think one of the main problem is the first one, the relationship between the city and the riversides. I understand that you have underlined this in your starting points, but then I think most of the video and presentation works only on the second aspects. I think it's necessary to be clear and to understand if it's necessary only work on the riverside. First thing. Second thing is related to the time. This is a question for me, and I'm interested in this field because it's one of the main topics in my studies, and it's necessary to clarify what is in the next works, not necessarily now, but what time is on working. We are speaking about time of people, because in this direction there is some things to do and some things to propose is related to when the places are lived, Yesterday we have seen the conference of Dirty that speaks about the living the night time in some places, and can be one of the themes. And the people that live in the time probably is very different than the people that lives along the river sides during the day. Or, as Andrea Oldani proposed, the time is historical time, is the different periods of history. I suggest to the students not to try to work with all the elements, but to choose. Not only because you have few time, but also because the project is a proposal that choose some things and tests if these things can work in the project and then in the realization of the projects. Okay, this is the two things. I have another, but I think it's enough. Thank you for your presentation and works.
Grazie, thank you, Marco. I want to involve, if you want to add something, Dirk, if you have arrived from your jam, and Juan Carlos, you want to give some comments for Atelier 1 and their videos.
Yeah, hi. I'm not in the office, but still in the car. And thank you for the presentations. I got more or less most of it, but I had to take care a little bit on the traffic, of course, too. But two things, and thank you also for the comments. I think they were very helpful for to focus on the history and, for example, and the free flow of the river, which was very impressive for me when I was first time at the Po. This is something which is really unusual. I mean, we don't have this, for example, in Germany in this scale. And so this means also that you have to think when you are building something, then it's necessary to imagine, do you want to build it on the level, on this barrier between the gap between the city and the river, where it's more or less no kind of safe area, or do you want to build it inside the river area? And there it's necessary to think about the free flow of the river and the changing, and this can be a very important element of the design. This is one thing I want to add. And the second thing is, I really like the idea of this of your goal and your you have a little bit of money and you have a lot of money. I mean, in this scale, even 500,000 euros is not very much money. So you have to take care of what you want to what you want to build. But this means also that you have to focus your idea on one topic. If you have a lot of money, you can waste it easily. If you have almost none money, you can do something very great. And how could this happen? I think it can happen. This was shown yesterday in the presentation in the evening. For example, with this very simple idea of the flowers, which was, and keep in mind that the people are the locals or the tourists, they could keep something in mind. And this is a very, very important part to get an access. So even small ideas, not big buildings, can be very useful to implement a kind of new knowledge and new feeling for the river and the connection between, because it's not physically, it's just in the mind of the people, and this is so important. And on the other hand, you have maybe you have a lot of money. Okay, if you have a lot of money, what do you want to do and for whom? Do you want to do it for tourists as a tourist attraction, or do you want to do something for the locals, or only maybe a small group of people? Maybe, for example, the young people who are cycling, or even old people are cycling too, of course, but or do some special space which is a starting point. And this is a big question, I think, to tell us what is the reason and why should you spend so much money, or even little money, for this idea. And yeah, and so you have to don't do everything. Focus. I would say this is the best possibility in this short period of time to focus your ideas. Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to see the rest.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think in general, we've heard a lot about focusing the ideas, and absolutely, we agree completely. And I think to push this forward with a very sort of clear vision on what the project is and how it's relating to the river. To go back to the question of the city to the river versus sort of along the river, you see kind of the mix of proposals, because we've given some students actually the task of looking at this connection, this relationship between the city and the river, whereas other students are really looking more in this buffer zone between the river and the river's edge, or on the river. So we have a number of different sort of perspectives looking at this, and we'll see where we're going. But thank you so much for the comments. I hope for the students they were helpful. I think for us it was certainly helpful.
Okay, maybe Juan Carlos want to say something? Oh.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know, Juan Carlos.
Yes, I have a very short comment. First, thank you very much to the students, the team for the work. It's a very complex exercise, and I think for start the reflection is necessary. Start the reflection with the geographical vision. Geographical, not only physical geography, but social geography too. And this is the possibility of make watching the river with a living entity, not only with the fragments, parts, river, water, people, infrastructure, but it's a system, a global system, and maybe if you can washing the river with a entity, living entity, it's possibility to make a different approach. I find very interesting the proposition of the second group, because they come and look for spaces inside the city which allow to make the link with the river. It's really very interesting. Go to the city, not only washing the border of the river, but think how the space inside of the city make the connection with the river. It's very different, for example, how the group 3 that think a tunnel, eco tunnel, maybe is isolation propositional, is maybe is difficult to make the connection with a tunnel, and I think it's necessary. Think this place, this space, have a living entity, and the animals, the plants, and the humans, because we make part of the biodiversity. It's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Juan Carlos. I don't know if Alessandro wants to say something, but I think it's quite difficult to comment. The first atelier you
Yes,
have
I
just
cannot comment because I have not seen all the works.
Okay.
I see the next.
Okay.
Thanks.
So thank you very much for Atelier 1. Now we have now done our sector with video. Now we are looking forward to play video game with Atelier 2. For sure, so I'm giving the floor to Marco Navarra. I want also to say that for sure our comments now are made with made professor, guests, and so on. But it's our session is oriented to help students and to discuss with you students. So if you want to have some to comment, to say, to tell, to talk also during comments, feel free to raise your hand and to say we want also to talk something in addition to your presentation. Okay. So Marco, I guess you can. Thank you.
Okay, share the Okay, can you see the screen? Hello?
Sì, lo vediamo, sì.
Hello, everybody. And first of all, thank you very much for my tutor, Claudia Cosentino, Antonio Rizzo, and Dario Felice. They was very great help these first days with student, working with student. So I would like to just give a short introduction and then give the space to students, to my tutor, to explain the work in progress. I would like just to remember the guideline that we gave to the student at the beginning of this workshop. The title we chose for this atelier was Future Planetary Ruins. This title suggests to thinking the future ruins working with the contemporary landscape as if they were archaeological ruins. This is the main point, the main topic. In this way, we would like to practice a kind of archaeological architecture. Is a kind of exploration using the archaeology as tools to investigate. So the atelier goals are designing the archaeology of a landscape of ruins, contemporary and future ruins, through the transformation of the viaduct of the Turin-Brescia motorway. That is this highway near the Farnesian Wall. So this is the main infrastructure in the buffer zone between the city and the river. So we would like to make a comparison with the viaduct that we saw in the city where each student lives. The design task of our atelier focuses on the relationship between the reality and imagination, but especially between archaeology and architecture. This is the main topic and the main idea. But the starting point was to work in this particular condition, this workshop, because this is a smart virtual workshop, but we try to work in a specific place in Piacenza. So more than half of students are in on city and other students are in Piacenza. So this is a very, for us, very great challenge. This difficult, but we thought it might be interesting to understand how these difficulties of this workshop could become opportunity to experiment other ways to knowledge, other ways to work on design. So we choose just 3 keywords for exploring this space in between nature and culture, matter, meaning, reality, imagination. And we suggest to the student to thinking about these three keywords: the double, the analogy, the assemblage, and suggest using these three words to guide the design process. Use this word as tools to design. So we are using the double as tool of design and also as a guideline for the organization of the workshop work, for organization of the team of work. So we invite the student to look at Piacenza from the world, and through Piacenza look at the world. We invite the student to play with a double level, exploring the space in between virtual and analogy. This is a very, very important. And the other word for us very important is play. Play a game. We thinking about design like a sort of a playground. This workshop is a big playground for help to imagine the future of this place. The second word, keyword, is analogy. The atelier considers the design as an analogical process that combines device and elementary pieces. And the other word is assemblage, is a way to practice the design as an assemblage process that combines device and simple element in active texture, in imagining the energy in the process of design. Also thinking about a way for imagining future strategy for the place. So the final delivery is a very play games. So the final result should be a 60-bit video game. What we work in 6 levels that corresponding to 6 bands orthogonal to the highway viaduct in Piacenza. So the main topic is work around this viaduct, around this infrastructure, and we try to use this infrastructure as key of the design, imagining this viaduct, this highway can become special ruins for the future, a very great challenge for this buffer zone between the city and the river. So I give the space to my tutors to explain the work in progress and to go on with the first exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. So yes, Antonio is taking.
Antonio.
Hello, hello everyone.
Hello, you can go.
Can you see my screen?
No, yes, now yes.
Okay, thank you. As Marco said, we decided to divide all the area we are interested in explore in 6 parts that are corresponding to the end to the 6 levels of this video game we are going to prepare for you. And in each part, 4 students are playing and exploring and studies part of this territory in Piacenza, from Piacenza, who is there, and from the rest of the world, who is away from. And they compared this similar condition in the city where they are now, looking at Piacenza from the virtual with the virtual tools, and the other that are in Piacenza studied their own cities, and they looked for some particular spaces that can be compared to the area they are in working. We divided also this week of laboratory in 3 exercises. The first, as I said before, is focusing on Piacenza with the virtual or real site visit of each participant, and as I said, along the viaduct for a strategy of observation, and with a very precise focus on their own 550 meters area. This is an example of how they started, which tools they used, an image with a text of description, and here a collage of section traced, drawn on the section that you saw before. And also they prepared an abacus of all the elements that they are sure are important for them, for the project of this reviewing for the future. Jagrit was selected to present works. Jagrit, can I invite you to present?
Yes. Hello. Hi, Professor. Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
You can start.
Okay. So, as we all know that our site is just parallel to the River Po, which is which is of a heritage important to Piacenza. So we've in the first slide you can see the important elements considered in terms of heritage value. So first is the historical heritage. You can see the wall of the Piacenza historical city, and then I've also highlighted some of the nearby elements that is that are very nearby to the viaduct. So you can see Palazzo Farnese, and you can also see the Piazza Cavalli. You can also see Duomo, and it's just nearby. So also, what is a distinctive element is that you can see two of the bridges that connect to Lombardia. One is the motorway, and the second one is the railway bridge. And also on the junction of two railway lines that come from Milano and from Torino, on the junction you can also identify a very old water tank. So I'm talking about these elements because we have to identify these elements and create an abacus and then use them in the video game that we construct on the final stage. For the industrial heritage, the major part of our site is the industrial. So we can see the two big chimneys, as that is a very distinct landmark once you enter from Milan. From the railway, from the train also you can see the two the towers. You identify that you've reached Piacenza. So it's a very distinctive element. And then the motorway comprises of underutilized spaces beneath them. So that is also a very abandoned part that we would like to utilize in the video game. Next, please. Next slide, Professor. Yes. So this is the patch that I have. Previous one. Sir. Okay. So on the side, you can see the Professor, previous slide, please. See. So this is a map of the road map of if you navigate through on the ground. This is you can see the Nino Bixio towards River Po, and you can see the highlighted elements that we have targeted that we want to convert into the abacus later on. We have identified all the industrial buildings. You can identify a sports complex. There is a football field between the two bridges, and you can see the underutilized and abandoned structures under the bridge. Also, you can see a very dominant proposition of this A21 motorway, which disconnects the city's visual line from River Po. So it's a very negative aspect that a river of very beautiful importance and nature, it's totally disconnected from the city. Next, please. So if we cut the section, I wanted to highlight these the terrain also. So you can see from left to right, you can see the Lombardia region and the agricultural lands that are present there. Then you can, if you see the section line, the red one, you can also see the very distinct trussed structure of the railway bridge. Again, then you can see the two chimneys in the center that we will also highlight as a element. Under the bridge, you can see the abandoned space. So I've not shown anything there. It's a very conceptual section because for the video game, if we have to create a very pixelated format, so you won't see a very detailed description, and it's just a rough section. And then you can see the highlighted tower, which can also be utilized as a landmark. And then when you pass through the railway bridge, you can see the city that starts. So you can see because of the motorway, the city is pretty disconnected from the natural heritage of the river. Next. So these are some of the final observations that I've noted down. You can see River Po as an important element. Then there is random greenery, very you'll say haphazard manner and naturally grown vegetation around this place. The bank of River Po is also characterized by dense natural vegetation. And you can also see one of the major landmarks is that the old bridge had a foundation. So now currently this foundation is used for basically people going to the river. As I mentioned earlier, the two chimneys, and you can also see some abandoned buildings, abandoned structures, and the sports stadium and the street Nino Bixio, which connects the industrial part of the area to the city. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Antonio, non ti sentiamo. Credo, forse hai spento il microfono.
Antonio?
Can you hear me?
Adesso
Yeah.
sì.
Can you, sorry. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I will share it again because I'm not sure it's correct. Can you see exercise number 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So exercise number 2 is focusing on the city where they are or where they come from. It's based on this real or virtual site visit, and everyone chosen a section, a part of the city they decided to study, correspondent to the 550 meters area they had in Piacenza. This is a city in India, and here some sections of this college archive of different parts of cities that are studied. As you can see from the first exercise to the second one, the graphics are going to change, more oriented to the video games low-fi resolution display, and without some elements that are very hi-fi components inside. So they also tried to recognize some elements that they studied that are similar to our cases in Piacenza, and they analyzed them with this squinting eye between Piacenza and their cities, or the cities where they come from or where they were. So Shivali is going to present the exercise, her work for the exercise number 2. Shivali?
Yes, Professor.
Hello, please.
So today I'll be taking you all on a virtual tour of my city, since we are talking about Worli, which is in Mumbai, India. So this site was basically chosen because of the very famous infrastructure which is located here, and since we are going to design and understand the topography, which is very much necessary for the game. So next slide, please. Mumbai is located in the west side of the India, where you can see in the map, and the satellite image makes us understand the tip of the Worli part. If you can see here, the texture is completely different at the tip, while the other part of the city is completely different. That is why it makes the site completely unique and yet interesting. So the line which you see, the orange line in the other map, is the sea link which connects Mumbai and the suburban area of the Mumbai. So let's understand the site first. Next slide, please. So first we will see that how this different part of the city, which is the tip of Worli, responds to the site. The texture here is completely different. The lifestyle here is completely different. So the number one is the Worli Fort, which we can see. It has a historical it is a historical heritage. Number 2 and 3 are the temples of god and goddesses, which are supposedly believed to be protecting the people who go for boating and for fishing in this area. The fourth part, the number 4, is the Navy, Defense Navy Coast Guard, the infrastructure here, which is supposed to be protecting the boundaries of Arabian Sea, and a small creek, which is at point 6. We can see that it allows the boats to get parked of the fishermen. And the last picture shows us the texture, that how the buildings are very, very groundly and have Mangalore tiles and very rural kind of a context. Next slide, please. Now, we can see the complete contrast image on the other side of the picture, where we see the sea link. This is the sea link and the entrance of the sea link at number 7. Number 8 is the seating area, which is across the sea belt. And in the image 11, you can see that how these two contrasting elements sit within each other, and the interesting elements are being formed, which is very much essential for the video game here. Last but not the least, there is number 12, which lies in the heart of the city, a big, huge fish drying area. So now all these elements we have identified. So let's put it in the section and identify more in detail the Abascus elements. Next slide, please. So this is the entire section where we see how these different typologies and different architectures sit within very much near to each other, but yet complement and support each other. So this section is more of supporting the video game context, and the elements which form this section or help this section to be very unique are the boats. So you can see as number 1, the Abascus element. Second is the Defense Navy. Third is the water body. Of course, we can see it plays a very important role. Fourth are the buildings. So there are two different typologies of the building, like modern and rural. Fourth is the vegetation. Here we can see there are a lot of coconut trees since we are at the coastal edge. Second last is the heritage, which we just saw, Worli Fort, which was built by one of the great emperor Shivaji Maharaja. And the last one is the very famous Bandra Worli ceiling. So here is the section, and that's how I end this presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Then, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So then we decide to every work that you have seen until now is done individually, and because all this work on the areas could be individual and shared, of course. After we decide with the exercise number 3 to select one section for each participant, for each student, and we assign it to the first to Leiana, etc. So we ask for a section, of course, and the abacus of the relevant element on each section. With these lo-fi drawings and as you said before, we had a lot of ideograms or pictograms just to describe the form, the colors, the dimension of these important elements. We try to analyze them in 3 different ways, by photos, by drawings in lines, and drawings in pixel, just to introduce the graphic of the video games. This is one of our best results. As you can see, is a section on Piacenza. Some elements are recognizable, and this is the new abacus of elements. It's a selection, of course, but this is the form of the new abacus the students are preparing. Chang is not here because she said she has internet connection problems. So in this step, she analyzed this 120 meters, that is the distance between a section and the following one, with a more restricted length of 312 meters. The highways in this case, this is the central part of each section ready for the video games. And this is the conversion of the work on Piacenza, abacus, and this is the translation in of the section ready for the video games from the city in China. Next step is to ask our students to write a plot, a story that can describe the project, the design project of this ruin of the motorway, and that overlaps and intersects a plot for the video games display and act. So maybe we are now trying to ready the first submissions, and this is one, Finding Bruno. And so we are going on this way. Thank you.
And tomorrow we make a big meeting to discuss together, all the students, the strategy for design the ruins of this viaduct. So we would like to put together the different idea and find together a strategy, a common strategy that will be the very task for the video games, final video games, for the plot, for the story of the video games. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Antonio, all the students as well. So just to make a short brief, then I'm giving the floor to our guest for comments. So in the first exercise, it's a sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, creating the geography. So recreating the existing geography, selecting some specific elements of the Piacenza situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, both virtual and real. So students that in Piacenza go to the place to describe this element. A student was in the on town by virtual exploration.
Okay. Then in the second exercise is a sort of abacus of worldwide conditions. So
infrastructure, similar infrastructure.
Okay, and then with this recreation of a video game environment, now you are opening to understand which is the role or which can be the role of the video game itself for the transformation, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. And we ask to use the abacus, the world planetary abacus of element from other city, from other infrastructure, using for to find the strategy in the play for Piacenza.
Okay, so you are mixing individual inputs and exercises to have a general atelier strategy.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask, well, for sure, for comments. Marco Mareggi is leaving in a few minutes. If you want to give a comment right now, Marco. Otherwise, I ask on this.
Thank you very much to Michele and also to Marco Navarra. I can give a name to the atelier too. The name is Surprise.
Yes.
Why Surprise? I think that all the steps that you propose, that you call exercise, but I prefer to say, I understand why exercise, but I prefer to call steps, because you present to make a path, and you organize the path. It's normal, but the path it's not it's an unusual path. First of all, because it's a game and a virtual game, but I think it can be a provocation for Piacenza and can be useful. I don't know when you can arrive, but as all the surprise can change the point of view of the people and can help to think in a different way. First. Second, I think it's interesting, is also a surprise to have to make a confrontation between Piacenza and all over the world. Also, this is important for two things, I think. First of all, because for the students it's important, because we don't create students for the city in which he lives and her lives, but for everywhere. Probably our students don't work near the house, but works all over the world, and I think this is a way to understand how it's possible to think related things in different places, and you make in an interesting way that I recognize like a very traditional things of architecture. You ask to the students in the second exercise to make like a photo of typology of places. I think you need to stress this because you can understand how some kinds of places, some other people don't call typology, but call in Italian tipi di spazi, types of places in which you don't need to look also the buildings, like in the typology in the history, but also buildings and the open space around. You make like in this way. I think it's interesting because the students can understand the specific place in Piacenza, but also something that can becomes an heritage for the future of the students like designers. Third path that you propose, that is for me very difficult because I'm old, I'm traditional, I don't use play.
Me too.
Yes, but you are also innovative. I'm very traditional man in my mind, and I'm curious what you wanted to arrive at the end of the work, because you don't say I think these tools The second one is very able to give physical elements for the people. The abacus is useful for understand how the dimension of the things. You continuously speaks about measures. Instead, in this, you work, in my mind, for politician. You like, you give physical tools to thought political strategy, not physical elements. And this is the two things. Sorry if I'm not able to give you suggestion like for the Atelier 1, but the surprise is too much that is necessary to underline the elements of the surprise. Atelier surprise. I hope it can be useful for us.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Grazie Michele.
No, grazie a te.
Io vi ascolto ancora per un poco intanto che andate avanti, fino a che non devo scappare.
In macchina troverai una coda con quella che arriva dalla Germania di Dirk.
It's wonderful. On the car, it's wonderful. The review on the car, it's very, very strange and specific. Another surprise.
Okay.
Bye to everybody.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Maybe Alessandro Massarenti, if you want to say something. Yeah.
Yes, only some observations, some reflection. I think that the premises of this second atelier are very interesting, not only for the approach, but even for the keywords that are given in the presentation. And the most important concept for me, in my opinion, is the concept of ruin, because this concept have a lot of possible intertwining relation with different scales, different dimension of the project. And I think these premises are correctly devoted to the line of the viaduct Turin Brescia, because this is a very real question that is possible to face not only with the instruments of landscape design, even with the other instruments at different scales. I think the one thing that is possible to see in this presentation, that there is a distance that I think it is possible to solve in the next discussion that the group can have between a general atelier strategy that is very clear in the 6 bands orthogonal made in the territory between Piacenza and the highway viaduct since Piacenza to the territory over the river, and the 3 different visions that the 3 exercises have tried to explore. The recreating of a new geography of the area, this abacus of worldwide condition that is partial, and I think it's interesting to compare with the first thing, and this idea of plot of different narration that we can have on this area, that I think is very interesting to compare with the first 2. Another thing that I think is interesting to understand or to discuss is the possibility to consider that there are very different infrastructure in this territory and even in other territory. The viaduct is the perfect example of an infrastructure that is superimposed over the soil, and that have any relation between the soil and the space of the infrastructure that is over this. So the problem is to understand which could be the different strategies to link the two levels, to treating these two realities as two different realities, or merge these two with different formal strategies. And different infrastructure are bicycle path, pedestrian path, undefined spaces that are used as paths. But which are the relation between this infrastructure network and the ecological network that are in the space between this infrastructure? Which are the relation between these two networks and the energetic networks that are sometimes invisible or sometimes visible, but of different nature between in comparison with these two infrastructure? I think this could be some question that in the discussion that the group, this atelier, can develop could be useful to face and to prepare to understand, to define a general strategy that could be a general form that involved all these 6 bands that I think is very useful to have prepared for the work of all the atelier. Until now, this is my reflection, but I have to know better the work of the atelier to do some other suggestions, some other reflection. I only want to say anew because we are working with a group of researchers coming from different disciplines, from sociology, anthropology, urban design, architectural design, landscape design, on a research of about 40 towns in Po River Valley, analyzing this different relation between different way of studying the relation between city and the river. And I have inserted in the blog of this group the work of the workshop that we are doing. So I think that could be a good interchange between the work of this laboratory and the work that we are doing in the next months about this item. Thank you. But many compliments to your work.
Thank you.
Grazie Alessandro. Maybe also this work research you are doing with the Po River cities and territories, it can be interesting to also to share with all the groups and also with the workshop itself. Opening the workshop last Monday, we have in fact talked about the identity of the Po River, that is a river with quite few cities on it, because Piacenza is one of the few cities that are very close to the river, and it's quite a weird situation, and it can be also seen as a great potentialities for our city itself in order to improve the quality and so on.
I will send you some news. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can go on with other comments. I can ask Dirk, Juan Carlos, and Andrea, if you want to talk a bit about this video game suggestions by Atelier number 2.
Maybe I can say something very fast, waiting for our international guest. It's very challenging, in my opinion, this work, and compliments, because I think it's very difficult in a short time dealing with such a complex system of references, and also this idea of possible international exchange about one topic that at the end is the city, our landscape, and the relationship between the city and the natural infrastructure and artificial infrastructure like the viaduct and the ruins of the viaduct. What I would like to suggest to the student is to extend their way of looking at the reality. I saw that there are many references to sort of monuments, or how to say, more than monuments, landmarks of the places they are investigating. What I think is very interesting for a game made by architect is doing one game that at the end is teaching something about architecture. I know, for example, in Portugal, one researcher at FAUP who is working on games for children, introducing children to architecture. And so I think the video game should teach or maybe tell something about the potential of architecture, the potential of design. So I think it can be very interesting looking at ruins in one point of view that is opening towards, for example, the topic of waste or mistakes or something made by the humans that is a little disruptive of the existing environment. Places where basically we can go and work using our knowledge, that is the design. And so maybe the game should be something really about this, you know, finding a place where applying something, finding, opening a potential transformation. I don't know, because I'm not really into games, but I can imagine something. That's it. So this is my suggestion, going towards this kind of side of someone said that is very easy taking photographs of what is beautiful, but it's very difficult describing what is not beautiful. And I think in this kind of situation, as well in many cities along rivers in the world, unfortunately, especially very close to the river banks, there are conditions that are not that cannot be defined as beautiful. And maybe those kind of places, those kind of conditions are the best for the intervention of the architects. That's it.
Thanks. Grazie Andrea. I want to ask Juan Carlos and Dirk if you want to say to comment this atelier's presentation.
Maybe just a short comments, because I am very surprised to the proposition. It's interesting, but first because you integrate a larger territory of the river, and it's interesting to see the very long band of the river. That is the first reaction. And for the proposition, general proposition, I think I wait, because I feel it's a door of the virtual creativity. It's a door to the windows of the creativity, and maybe the next step. I have some words to say my opinion, because I think is how to translate the reality, this exercise, and not remain abstract. This is the question, or maybe it's necessary to stay abstract because the condition, actual conditions, it's impossible to go to translate to the reality. I don't know. I wait the next step.
Thanks. Maybe you wait to play, Juan Carlos. To play.
Maybe the reality is the video games.
Yes,
yeah, it is.
Yes.
Dirk, we are
Yeah,
very
hello.
curious to
So
understand
now
how
I'm
it's doing your travel. Show us your car.
I reached
You reached
the
the office.
Yeah, thank you for the
You are in
presentation.
the park, the parking, no.
In the park, yes. It's
the park, no, the office.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I was also a little bit how to say, confused. But at the beginning, I think the first step was so normal. The first step to look at the site, very precise, was a typical way to start with such a workshop. And the presentation was very nice, but for me as an urban planner and landscape architect, I was missing the pictures of landscape. So there were only a few. So the domination of architecture and the columns and so on was visible. And I think, and it was only looking on the highest or the large scale and not on the details, because the beauty is sometimes in the detail. And this was missing a little bit in the starting point. But actually, it was a good possibility to start. And it was also logical for me to have a second step, to see something in your neighborhood and what's familiar for you, or maybe you have seen another situation somewhere around the world, which is similar. We don't have something like this in Osnabrück, but everywhere you have highways and situations like this. And it could be helpful in this case to show the people from Piacenza that that's not only their problem. The problem is existing all over the world. And maybe some of these situations and cities have found locations and possibilities to solve the problem of this gap or of this cut between two parts, city parts or whatever. And after this, and this is maybe the next step, to see what can I learn from these different problems. And I thought in that moment when I saw the sketches then I thought something like the game would be something like some person is jumping over or has to dig under through or whatever. So it's like these first video games which are only on one cut through the landscape, hopping over or whatever, and exploding or whatever, I don't know. And then comes something totally different. And this is I don't understand at the moment, because now you want to make urban planning with your video game, and to simplify this. I had some problems with the word abacus, but now I understood what you mean with it, because I was not used to this word in German. And we use it in a different way. But maybe I think the problem could be that it will be too simple. And to simplify urban planning is very dangerous, because then you also have simple solutions. As a kind of game, I like it, but maybe it's not on the urban planning scale. Maybe it's just about the problem with the highway and the world underneath. And but I don't know how you want to work with it. Yeah, and let's see. It's a kind of experiment. And for me, I'm also like my colleagues, more the conservative person. But yeah, let's be open-minded and see what will happen. Go for it.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you for your suggestion.
Okay, thank you. I guess we have closed this comments. If any students also, Chiara maybe, or some other colleagues or tutors want to add something. Okay, so we can go on with atelier. So thank all the members, Mark, and all the members of atelier number 2. So we are quite perfect with time. So 1 hour for atelier. And now we are going to, I'm giving the floor to Valerio and Francesca, and your presentation with the 8, the title of your atelier is Mapping Ideas in Places, and to you, also to the students presenting the 8 different groups.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we are going to present the first part of our atelier. We required students to do an exercise about a kind of map or a kind of mapping of places in which they had to, looking for particular elements of the landscape to be mapped. It is not just to require a general map of the site, but from this map, they have to shape a strategy. So they have to find something into the landscape of Piacenza, able to open a discussion for a strategy first, and then for a design of landscape later. So this first step is regards the students' imagination, how they look at the landscape, how they can transform the landscape in some ideas or strategies. So here the mapping ideas and designing places means exactly this thing. So the map is not a generic map, and they are working for specific maps having specific qualities and features. So if we can go on with the slide, Francesca, please.
You can see it.
Okay. So this first step is shape a strategy. So how the maps can shape a strategy, can start a strategy for the landscape. And so they did nice exercises, I think, in which they combined stories, collected stories from Piacenza, not only visible elements, but stories. They added their point of view and elaboration of what the landscape of Piacenza could be. And we have some maps that now they will explain us. I think I don't have to add more than this to present the atelier. So I would like to let students to present what they did. I think we have a third slide, right, Francesca?
You maybe no. Those are 1, 2.
Okay.
So this was the first 2 steps, and then we are at this point, and now this is the first group.
Okay, good. Please. Now it is time for students.
So, hello everyone. I will talk a bit about this manifesto image that we did, me and my group, that is called Landscape Through the Unobserved. We used this name because our main idea is to give people a different way to see the riverfront, highlighting the natural transformation of the spaces due to the seasonal changes, the human recognition, and the relative perception. So we selected this area because it's a space that grows from the more natural part close to Trebbia River, to the more urban one close to the highway. And our main idea is to transform this daily view of the area in an experience to be discovered in each step. Because since we are able to see a view in a daily basis, somehow it can become more ordinary. So our purpose is to enhance these views by hiding them. So we propose different types of visual barriers, some more open, some more closed, some more natural or more solid. And the rhythm of these barriers varies according to the typology, the spaces, the heights, and the perforation of the elements. So with this, we intend to create a more labyrinthine entrances, and just some main straight consolidated paths were marked to guide the users to viewpoints that we consider most relevant to observe and experience the natural transformation of the landscape during all seasons of the year. So we are proposing also some truth windows in order to frame important points, providing contactless interaction with nature, seen by afar, but still being able to feel this nature in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can pass for the group 2.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So being a totally stranger for the city, the first thing catch our intention is the relationship between old ancient wall and the new hydrological defense dam. And we know that because of the land use and the city development, the ancient wall Mora Farnesiana have no longer used and replaced by the dam now. The defense dam is not only being a defender but also a psychopath for the city. However, the impression of the dam for people seem like not powerful enough to inform people these important historical changes. So we want to do some renovation and define the dam. So that is to give a new identification for the dam and to be more appealing for citizens. After our site mapping and the previous discussion, we recorded the plant, the material from building, from field, from bridge, and from the factory along the path. We found out that we noticed that there are a lot of populars planting along the path, especially in the rural area, and the changing for circumstance of construction material not only imply the changing of location and also changing people's perception for the place. So finally we got a concept, which is to make a cultivation strategy along the path to respond to the nature. At the meanwhile, we will use the specific regional material to build the infrastructure. They will be mainly showing as a form of wall, the wall with quotation marks to respond to the specific site and also respond to moral fantasy. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Group number 3.
So our strategy starts from the idea that several items define a space that is a mixture of elements, materials, environments, and movements. All the lines, limits, and borders, whether physical or hidden, can define a space and create a mosaic of the site. The lines change the mosaic of the land over time. Piacenza is made of heterogeneous patches, patterns, and corridors which gradually change in form as we look at the mosaic from different scales and zooms. Considering the access from the city defined by several infrastructure elements that create an area composed by different patches, we aim to modify this place, creating just one green piece of the mosaic, a natural landmark. Designing an urban forest where the vegetation will create a strong visual and environmental impact. In fact, the urban forest will not be only a strong element visible even from the highway, but it will face challenges such as pollution, water management, and human well-being. Zooming into our new mosaic tile, you will discover that the urban forest is composed by different shades of green created by the use of different species of trees, bushes, and shrubs. We hope our proposal will be the starting point to encourage the idea of reforestation for the rest of the riverbank, adding more tiles of a new green mosaic for a sustainable future. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We were super strict with the time, but you can also be, I mean, we have time, like 30 seconds.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, it's okay. Thank you very much.
Breathe, Sara, now. You can breathe.
Okay, so group number 4. Oh, sorry. I lost one. Marius, Vivienne, Verena, who is going to talk?
One moment. Okay, so yeah, we were interested in the movement of the water and the floods. We decided to deal with floods in a way to go with the flow and think about how to prevent and repair damage. And the area we focused on were buffer zones, floodable ponds, and fields with flood-resistant crops, like, for example, rice. And we decided to work also on 2 vacant military areas. And one is near the river, used as a buffer zone for riparian forest and biodiversity park, and the other as a nursery providing trees for the parks and the buffer zones, also in case of damage through the floods, and to biodiversity. Yeah, we want that the river has a space to keep and not tighten it or force it to flow in a certain way, but let it go wider or narrower. And our keywords are repair ecosystem, circularity, and connection. Connection is there because the city is right next to it, and people can see this park and process. We would like to have also as an area of leisure and reuse maybe the military buildings for cafes and so on, so people see that the city is doing something. And we think that usually flooding is seen as something bad and destructional, and we want to show that that process as part of nature and a moment of renewal.
Okay, thank you. Group number 5, Nahid, Yeleta, and Pratyusha. Microstories.
Yes. Yeah. Hello. Our group dealt mostly with the social connection of Piacenza and the river. So basically, as we know, Piacenza is a city formed by the river and the major roads, but while being essential to the city, these infrastructure elements eventually lost the connection between the city. Not only the physical connection, but also the social connection. However, though, there were many memories created in time showing how affectionate people used to be about the landscape and the riverside. So we started to collect as many memories and images as we could of moments in time and look deeper into their stories. We called these stories microstories. So they start, as you can see on the first map. Those micro stories, those images start from this riverside and then are spread throughout the city, showing important events through history, showing buildings, landmarks, walls, and so on. So then we thought of recovering those stories and mapping them in the current landscape as lost fragments of history. The way to show these micro stories is, as we thought, through virtual reality technology placed to specific points at the riverscape. And then these points are connected not physically with one another, but through maybe it can be through an app like Pokemon app, and making it like a virtual journey through time. So in addition to this initial idea, we decided to recreate some of these past fragments. So not only recover the memory, but also try to recreate these memories. by designing new places and interventions which will be generated from these microstories. So as you can see, I don't know, it's not very visible, but as you can see from this microstories postcards on the second map, we try to extract some lines out of the images, which will later be used to create a contemporary design of some of the specific places or ideas. So to conclude, what we want to do with this kind of idea, analyzing the palimpsest, we are trying to create like two dimensions of storytelling, connecting the past and the present, and somewhat making people reflect on the changing landscapes of the river. Even though we are not particularly solving problems here, but our intention is to show the changes in time through imagination, which actually resulted into the problems and make people aware of these changes. So reminding them the importance of river flow. That's thank you.
Thank you very much, Dialeta. Very clear. Thank you. So the sixth group, Jikyang, Funky, Yanning, and actually there are also another component that is Yanning Chu. It is the new one. We didn't put his name here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. You can go.
Okay, I will present. From the past to the present, what kind of changes have taken place in the city? We want to explore the chances of historical change and display these chances. So we select chances or events that have a significant impact on urban development and change, and hope that through transforming these chances, people can feel the changes that have occurred in the city. And according to the document, we cross-responded each transit to the specific space and the space where the event occurred, and by transforming the emotion in the trance into the typography and the geometric shape of the site where the trance occurs is transformed into a platform, and on this kind of specific form of each transit space and connect them in order to form a narrative landscape, or can be say a transit line. And so this different space have an experience of different era scenes, like watching a movie, and ending of it is referred to a modern life story. That's our idea. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, group number 7, Liang, Fanfang, and Jun.
Hello everyone, we are group 7. Here is our strategy map. It shows the tour line from the city center to riverbank. We have 3 keywords. The first one is the porta. We enter space will profoundly affect how we feel in space. So we choose entrance at the porta of Pearl River. Try to find the advantage point from the limits. The next one is scenario. Because people have different behaviors in different scenes, staying or passing by. Every step for change of a scene for you to enjoy. And the last one is scene. We hope to create a participatory, fresh experience, a scene of landscape space. Give a deep impression on the memory of the Pearl River. This picture shows the different scenarios. When we go through this entrance, it starts from the green point, which connects with others. Then we go through this narrow viaduct path. The entrance is surrounded by houses and trees, which block the view, so it's hard to know what will happen ahead. On the right is an abundant space. We propose an entrance park that people can stay. On the other side, we close up under the bridge. The most beautiful landscape of the riverbank is brought to the eye. The one process from narrow to wide, invisible to visible, We used a moving line to link three spaces where people can stop and stay: the City Green Park, Entrance Park, and the riverbank. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Group number 8, last but not least. Yining and Zampeng.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Yining. You can put
Hello.
you can turn on the video. So
I think I
people
have
can
turned
see.
it on.
Okay.
Did you see me? Oh, okay.
I don't, but maybe it's my problem.
Hello everyone. We are Group 8. We are not at Piacenza, and our interest point is the skyline in the city. So we have analyzed the skyline of Piacenza through eye level view and aerial view, and our 3 words are skyline, form, and information. The specific places we choose to analyze the skylines are the farmland, streets in the city, and different angles on the highway and bridge across the Po River. The information we get from these sites are the lifestyle of residents and the form of agriculture around. Based on that, we hope to provide a platform for people to get more abundant view of the city, which means create a new landscape without changing the current landscape. As for ecological concern, we hope the biodiversity of vegetation will be more abundant. So we decided to use the element skyline to create a new skyline in Piacenza as a new landmark. On the one hand, showing the city's feature, on the other hand, put forward our prospect for the city in its ecosystem. So this is the site and our design strategy. The first part is near the city, and we hope to do little intervention using temporary architectures and together with the landscape around, build a new platform for people to gather and have activities. As for the river, the skyline will be made by some lighting installation and is invisible during the daytime. We hope to build a tangible skyline on the farmland. It will be a landscape corridor with waving rooftop to let people view the landscape and city from different perspectives. And the function of the corridor will be related to collecting natural energy and transfer it to agriculture use. So that's all. Thank you.
Jessica?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks, my students, and I hope the methodology was enough clear, and we are waiting for comments.
Okay, so thank Valerio, Francesca, and all the students for sure. Yeah, okay, we can open the comments. So I guess we have Andrea Oldani is connected together with Dirk and Juan Carlos. I can see also Alessandro, but he left. So maybe Andrea, if you want to give your comment, and we have also said maybe it can be nice. Now we have a comment for Atelier 3. Then closing this session, we can exchange some general comments to the 3 works, also involving respective atelier leaders and tutors. So if Valerio wants to comment some other works, it can be also nice to share this comparison of works, because, and just to say one word, closing these presentations, what is amazing and fantastic and very inspiring is that we are commenting and discussing 3 different very different approaches and works and ideas and visions, and this is the richness of our workshop, I think, and it is representing also the real international environment, international and special ideas. So back to the comments for Atelier number 3. Maybe Andrea? Yeah, okay, you're ready. Thank you.
Maybe we can. I can start. Okay. Yeah, I think the the process is very clear, because it's very clear the pattern given by the tutors in the development, and the idea of this general map that then is bridging towards some design interpretation. Again, in this work, I saw something about the idea of modifying the river morphology, introducing wetlands, humid areas, and I would like to give the same suggestion I gave to the first group. First of all, trying to understand how was the river Po in different phases of the history, in order to understand what's the nature of this river, because each river have multiple identities. One identity is for sure its morphological relationship with the ground, because the river is a living object that is continuously modifying morphologically the ground. And your intervention should be, how to say, something that is dealing with this heritage, and also dealing with this kind of historical movement, is making yourself much more sure about what you are doing. Logically, it's collective work, you need an hydraulic engineer, but sometimes it's also something that is going to be very interesting in terms of design ideas, because the nature of the river can suggest you something about what and how to do. Another suggestion that I would like to give to the students is that I think sometimes, from my teaching experience, the idea of the map is suggesting the idea of dealing with a very huge scale. So we need to focus on the city, focus on very huge scales and very complex relationship. But in this case, in Piacenza is the city center is very small. You can cross the city in 40 minutes. And what is missing in terms of link with the river is made of a sequence of places that are particularly complex in terms of morphology, crossings, overlappings, and transition, a very difficult transition. And so maybe mapping means also shifting from scale to scale and having a look to a very small scale that in some cases is very meaningful. The last point that I focused is about the group that is proposing a sort of forest. I would like just to suggest that in this case, those kind of elements are working very well in terms of ecological provisions if they are big. So you cannot consider the forest as a plot where you are doing the forest in that plot, but should be a system. So in your map, maybe you should highlight all the networks that are making this forest really useful, because species can move inside of this huge system. And the shape of Piacenza is suggesting a ring around the city that can go towards the river, and this is very nice, very interesting. So that's it. But again, compliments, because the work are really well focused and in a very short time, and with all the difficulties of online work. Thank you.
If I can't speak, because I have to leave you in a few minutes,
yeah,
and
okay.
I want to say some words. I think very interesting the work of the group 3. It's a very complete vision, and maybe more traditional with guillemets, but is a true reflection about the territoriality, the different processes, and with a wider territory. I ask only a question, because the mapping ideas is maybe the first step, but I feel it's necessary go to the how I say to the territory with the different elements, and not only stay in a very big scale. Maybe for the next sessions we can say another approach, and the design in places more concrete. That's all. It's a very large and very general reflection. I wait to the next.
Thank you, Juan Carlos.
I must leave you and see you for the next session.
Thank you very much for attending this session and for your very precise and focused comments. I guess we can go on with Dirk, and then, well, I say hello to Professor Fabiano Lemes de Oliveira, who can join this session. I don't know what you can see, but maybe you can comment something at the end.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for the group number 3. So this is more maybe my way of starting with the project. So I was feeling very well, and but some drops of water in the wine, maybe. I think when you're speaking about the atmosphere and when you want to get out the atmosphere and the feeling for it, it's of course very difficult with this remote field work we are doing at the moment, and therefore the results are very nice, good to understand, and I think you get a feeling for the site. But I think you have to check. It's not only the atmosphere; it has to be, yeah, how is it feeling? How is the space, wide or not? And what do you see? It's only what you have to find out is what is really there. I mean, what do you feel comfortable there? Is it really something that has to be seen critical, or is there some wonderful place you found? And this is what I'm missing a little bit in all your works. You're concentrating on the scale and the site, and you're very fast to implement some solutions. And this is, even if I like for example, group number 2 here, with this bicycle path, and this is very simple and easy to understand. And of course, you have a few platforms. It looks very normal, but did you find the right places for these situations? And is this really a good spot to focus on? And maybe there is only one and not several ones. This is for maybe the next step. Yeah, so a little bit difficult to do this in such a remote field work. But I like the group number 7 here, the Porta, Paul Porta. I like the pictures and the way how to go in details. This was very inspiring, I think, and a good starting point. Group number, I think here 8. Skyline and Piacenza, I don't know. This is something which is coming from somewhere for me. Of course, there is a skyline, but the skyline is maybe not only buildings and some kind of industrial infrastructure or churches or social infrastructure. I don't know. it's more only also the trees. It's a scale. Where are you walking? Under what kind of skyline are you walking in this landscape? And this is what I'm missing. Just the skyline, the idea, okay, but is it really a good thing? I don't know at the moment. And maybe it's, but the kind of topography which is existing there, which is very very interesting in details about the height of the people, if they are on the ground or if they are a little bit higher, and if they are on the water level or if they are on the level of the roofs. Maybe this is something you can work on and continue on. Yes, and group number 5, I mean, this is was an interesting or helpful comment by Andrea, because it's so important that this is not only some elements, it's also connected with the area around, and you have to spread a little bit in a larger scale maybe, and yeah, it's possible to make this in a little sketch visible. Yeah, thank you, and interesting works. I'm excited to see the results. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dirk, very much. Fabiano.
Thank you, Michele. Thank you, Group 3. And I'm sorry I couldn't be here to watch the other presentations. So I'm kind of parachuting in. So please moderate my comments according to your, the kind of the overall program and how much time you have and how much you have already done.
Sorry to interrupt you. I want just also to say hello to Karin Offert, who joins us in the session, and I take the opportunity for you that maybe you have seen just a fragment of the presentations. Now we are rewriting in the chat the link where you can get some materials from the ateliers, because we have a quite updated website where we are uploading materials. You can also see the registration of this session. This because maybe in the next days, if you want, whenever you have time or you want, you can check what different groups and students are doing and are uploading. So it's also a way to keep in touch for the next week works. So
perfect.
Perfect.
You have a very interesting site, and I think it's a fascinating brief that, as I understand, it's open enough for you to explore your visions, your ideas. So I thought that the notion of the river as a line of force that ties things together, things and stories. So in a way, you're talking about tangible and intangible elements. I thought this was really interesting. However, I felt that in a way, in doing so, the river itself, to me, kind of disappeared in the presentations, almost as if the river was a secondary element that was there to do this tying up, but it wasn't a major element or a major actor in itself, almost as if it was downgraded to a secondary role. So I would hope to see a little bit more about the river itself and about water. Now, I think Group 4 was probably the one that talked a bit more about that. So I would encourage the groups to think a little bit more about, okay, what about the river and what about the water in this process? I also felt that it was interesting, your discussions about the past and about stories and how important they are, absolutely fundamental. But also, I would say you are writing your own story now. Now you're writing the story of the future of this river. So I would also encourage you to have something to say about the future that takes on board the stories of the past, takes on board what the river is today, but also that there is some element potentially of boldness in your approach and thinking about what the river might be and how the relationships between the river and the landscape, the river and the city, the tangible and intangible elements can be tied together in this new story that you are telling us about the river in its years to come. So just some very quick comments, and I enjoyed the presentations, and I would just encourage you to think a little bit along these lines as well.
Well, thank you very much, Fabiano. And I guess we had many comments. Now, I ask also to our colleagues, Chiara, if you want to add something, also as a general comments for the whole presentation that I had. I think we had a very dense and I hope useful presentation of the three works. I guess also Sarah is back with us. If you want to give a general comment, otherwise we have proposed trying to have some cross comments. So maybe if Hope and Federico, if you are still there, if you want to give some comments to atelier number 2 and number 3, or the opposite. So Valerio, if you want to add something at the end of your presentation, I think we can have just a few minutes more of comment.
Well, yes, maybe I'll add something. Just, I think what I take in general, Hope isn't here, but what I think we both take from the other presentations, which we think is really strong, is the idea of the plot. And so the idea that there's a narrative involved. And I think this is something that I'm speaking mostly to our team and to our students here, that I think what we saw in group 3 and in group 2, which I thought was very strong, was this idea that there's always, whether it's an experience with your body, whether it's an experience of a story or of a bigger environmental issue, the importance of narrating and explaining and evolving in a way this story is very important. The plot as a spine, as a leitmotif throughout your project is something that really helps you to visualize and connect and communicate your project. I hope this is something that we all understand and we all agree on. Thank you. Wonderful presentations, by the way, by everyone. Oh, here's Hope. Yep. Maybe if you want to add something. I was just talking about the plot and the narrative, how it's very present in the other teams, and how speaking to our students, I think is something we really want to, I was even thinking what would be wonderful, one of these last diagrams that we were seeing, the last mapping exercises in group 3, and in thinking in video terms for us, it would be fantastic just to animate your mapping stories, because I see them really as narratives, and it would be wonderful to just, they already are alive, but turn them into videos for us.
This question of the narration, I guess, is it's a topical factor, an element we need to discuss from now till next Friday for the final presentation, because as far as we can see now, we have different types of narration. Okay, your narration, atelier number 1, is mainly with the video, sounds, and image. The narration from group number 2 is atelier number 2 is mainly with the idea of a video game, for sure, but now they are also inserting narration in terms of text. So each student is working with a text, as far as Marco was telling us. So different ways to narrate a story. Instead, atelier number 3 narrations is, correct me if I'm not interpreting in the right way, is more related with the tools of drawing. So to narrate with changing and transforming the landscape, and to enhance and to stress the quality of the landscape itself. So to try to focus, not better, because you have focused in a fantastic way. I mean, to stress and stress the character and the identity of each narration in a coherent way with the idea itself of the project can be a very good and important challenge for the next week's work. Maybe Valerio, maybe you want to add something also about other groups' presentation.
Yeah, yes, I would like to. So I can propose. Sorry for my angry face. I am not angry. My face this seems like very serious and angry. But I propose to switch professors, so I can take group number 1, atelier number 1. Atelier number 1 can take mine. It could be a very nice exercise. Next time, I will propose you to organize a kind of workshop like this. Because I really like for example, in my mind, it is difficult to visualize something through videos. I don't know why. That is something I feel I have a kind of limit in thinking, but I love it. I love it. I love to move things. I love because I love dynamic things and so on and so on. So that the presentation was very, very nice, and I think I can use your suggestion to move something if I understood your suggestion. So please join our atelier, and so I really like the presentation. You did very well organized. So this is another thing I don't have, organization. And that is something really I am very envious about this. No, I think the envious is like the cholesterol. You have a good one and you have a bad one. The good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. Then the same thing with the envious. But I like it. And then video games. I love video games. I cannot play video games. So when I was young, I tried to play with this very, very simple video games when I was very, very young, but it was a disaster. My coin took 2 minutes to finish, so I had to put many coins into the video games to play. And I think there is a really strong relationship between landscape and video games. I had a colleague in Volos in Greece who really go deep inside of this relationship between landscape and video games, and I think it is something very, very nice to share with to do in a workshop like this, because I don't know, I like it. So I would like to jump into both other atelier. So to destroy students and saying, don't do this, don't do videos anymore, don't play video games. So it could be nice. Think how to
exchange. Yeah. We need to ask the students if they agree, so we can have a referendum.
No, but students are there because we have to torture them. We have to destroy their life. That is the rule of students. Why we are professors to do something against someone else. So that is the rule of students.
You are becoming.
I am joking. Please don't send me in a jail.
You are becoming dangerous. I have to come back to get the game order.
delete my atelier, please.
I'm sorry, I was really not attending in the proper way today, but I had really a meeting which was very boring but very important for me. Next semester we have to start to teach in presence, and it's really difficult. So I think I will be the only one who will look at the registration at the weekend since we have this chance. So I cannot do really.
So you can, if you see our presentation, you will think that your meeting was better than it was.
Impossible. Sometimes I was jumping in your chat and I was looking at you, and it looked as if you had fun, I have to say, just from distance. But now I will check, because I want always to check. And so I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everything was...
Yes, we enjoyed it, I think. I hope students did the same.
And I thank, of course, all the professors who spend their time to attend our experiment of workshop. So really thank to everyone.
Can we say also, Sarah, that we had we have seen, you are seeing in the registration, we have seen a great amount of works also. The quality works for sure, but it's a great amount of works, and it's not simple to understand through this distance modality the amount of work itself. But I think all the groups have done very strong effort to present different materials, but very rich.
Okay.
So
Sarah, you can pay us.
Well, on Monday morning at 6, we can meet on Teams, and I can tell you my reaction. Okay, is it fine for you?
If you will pay us or not. Okay, good.
Everyone will join in, I'm sure.
We can so I guess we can close our session. We are not closing the week because as you know, as you know, also tomorrow is intended as a sort of workshop day. So I have seen that through your chat that you have already fixed some meetings for tomorrow. Then on Sunday we can have relaxed to start the second and new and final week in a proper way on Monday morning. I remember also that on Monday and Tuesday we have a very rich program also of lectures and conferences. On Monday night at 6 p.m. we are hosting Mario Sunier, who is a landscape architect from Battery Roig Architecture. So he's showing us a project and design from their Catalan and Spanish case studies and projects. Instead, on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. always Hans Siebling, who is a theoretician and historian about architecture, is giving us some maybe ideas and theories about architecture and landscape. So this is the program then till the end of for Friday, next Friday. I want to thank all of you. So Andrea, Dirk, Fabiano, all the other professors who joined our session, the leaders and tutors of the ateliers, and for sure the students who are the characters of our workshop. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.
Thank you very much. Well done, everyone.
I have to look at the registration. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Thank you,
Ciao.
everyone.
Well done, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.